But for those of us who took part in that exercise, I left that place very happy.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. It's because we were in Kiamba. I was in Kiamba for 3 weeks. I went to campaign for 3 weeks. At the beginning of the campaigns, at the beginning of our entry to Kiamba, it was a very difficult entry. Very difficult.
Hostile?
The crowd had been lied to, given a lot of propaganda. It was actually hostile. But by the end of the 3rd week, you could call people and they would come and listen with you.
Okay, okay.
So we started from having people who didn't want to even see us. But in 3 weeks, we were able to get half the crowd on our side.
Okay.
If we achieved that in 3 weeks, what are we going to do in 1 year?
All right.
Now we know what to do.
You know what to do, especially in the Mount Kenya region.
I'm actually addressing the Mount Kenya region.
I see Wakili is smiling. I'm going to grab
That's where the politics has been playing for the last 4 years. I mean, you've told people a narrative for 4 years, and it's undone in 3 weeks.
Okay.
There is something to be worried about.
That was Jeremiah Kioni, a mzee of Central Kenya or Mount Kenya politics. He has seen it all. Indeed, in 2013, he was the running mate of Musalia Mudavadi for the presidency of the Republic of Kenya. And as they say, there is no substitute, absolutely no substitute, to experience, more so in politics. Now, I'm sure there are quite a number of us on this channel who caught that KTN crossfire. Sure. And you heard the Mzee Kioni repeating, we know what to do. He repeated that several times. On today's show, I will reveal exactly what Mheshimiwa Kioni was driving at in detail. Yeah, so you'd better not miss that. Stay with me till the end. But first, let's put everything in perspective. Let's break all this down so that we all understand exactly what is going on here. Because there's something very big about to break in Mount Kenya. And one day, sometime in the future, when historians sit down to explain in detail, to analyze in detail, what happened in the Mount Kenya region during the 2022 presidential elections, they are going to start their account at a place called Kiamba and those by-elections. And what you have just heard Kioni explain in great detail. Folks, ogopa wazee. Waogope tena sana. Kwanza kwa siasa. Now, shortly after these remarks by Mzee Kioni, there was a meeting somewhere in Meru where Peter Munya, the cabinet secretary, was appointed to lead the Mount Kenya region into the 2022 elections. Now, Mheshimiwa Munya does not belong to the House of Mumbi. Yeah, he hails from the Meru tribe. But of course, when you're talking about Mount Kenya, we're not just talking about the House of Mumbi. We are talking about the Kikuyu, the Embu, and the Meru. Yeah, or the Meru. Gema, we used to call it in the old days. And what has happened in the past is that the way the Kikuyu vote is the way the Embu and the Meru vote, more or less. Although in some elections, they have voted as a bloc, almost to a man, for the same presidential candidate. I wanted to clarify that because in recent times, I have seen confusion in the media. Because the media has been referring to the Mount Kenya vote when they actually mean the vote of the House of Mumbi. The House of Mumbi, of course, is a community of Mount Kenya, but it is not the only community. Now, this major meeting, major rally, where Bwana Munya was appointed the speakers revealed that the plan is to put 10 million votes from this region all in one basket for one candidate. And of course, the whole idea is to give the Mount Kenya region a powerful bargaining chip so that whoever wins the presidency, most likely courtesy of those 10 million votes, will have a debt to pay to Mount Kenya. That's the whole idea. And let us get something very clear, because this is politics, and politics is brutal. It is in the best interests of the major presidential candidates currently to make sure that the Mount Kenya region never votes as a bloc for one candidate. Because if they go ahead and vote as a bloc, and they vote for one of the major presidential candidates currently, that candidate will emerge winner. No doubt about that. Now, I know many of you are shocked at that statement. Many of you may not agree. But let me explain a little further. Taking into account the history of that region, it is very unlikely that either William Samoei Ruto or Raila Odinga will get all 10 million votes from the Kikuyu, Embu and Meru intact in one basket as a block of votes. The former Prime Minister has a sizable amount of support in that area, granted. But getting all 10 million votes from the region is not possible. It is quite unlikely, bordering on the impossible. Even if he chooses a running mate from that region, it is very difficult for him to get all those 10 million votes as a bloc. And I'll explain why. During the Jomo Kenyatta presidency, when he fell out with his then Vice President Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, a deliberate campaign was launched by the Jomo Kenyatta government to demonize the Luo community. Not only that, for those who understand and appreciate spiritual things, oaths were taken against the country ever being ruled by somebody from Luo Nyanza. If you go to the ground in this particular region, you will understand just how powerful this sustained campaign has turned out to be. Because a child is born today, and tomorrow they will tell you they will never vote for Raila Odinga. Why? They can't give you a reason. They were born yesterday. They don't understand. But what they know is that they cannot vote for Raila Odinga. That is the sad reality. In 2013, and especially in 2017, the Jubilee Party took full advantage of this feeling on the ground. What did they do? They created the narrative that Raila Odinga had a very good chance of winning the presidency. And if he won the presidency, according to this narrative, the House of Mumbi was finished. Members of that community would not be able to live in the country called Kenya, their country, their motherland. And one of the things that would happen is that all members of House of Mumbi would be forced to wear kaptulas, shorts, under a Raila Odinga presidency. I know it is funny. There was absolutely zero logic in this narrative. But guess what? The House of Mumbi bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. And that is why we had this thing of kumira. Come out and vote. And block Raila Odinga from becoming president. Because the minute he becomes president, House of Mumbi Kwisha. Folks, this anti-Raila rhetoric in this region is so powerful that you can walk into the region with any cock and bull story and they will take it in as gospel truth. Not because the people there are not smart. No, we have some of the smartest people in the country hailing from this region. But then you also need to understand the power of spiritual things and the power of blood oaths. And that is not all. When Deputy President William Samoei Ruto fell out with his boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta, he used the same thing to win support in the Mount Kenya region. Now, I know most of us will not agree, but it is a fact. Human beings are not reasonable. They're emotional animals. Because sample the following. The Mount Kenya region and the House of Mumbi were very happy after the handshake because things went back to normal. They could do their business. Raila Odinga did the region a huge favor, by conceding to President Uhuru Kenyatta and accepting the handshake, even after everything that had happened, including the election being stolen from him. He should have been a hero in the region. And indeed, shortly after the handshake, the region was very happy with Raila Odinga. But a few weeks later, there was trouble because all of a sudden, the same people who were happy started getting very upset. And the reason why they were getting upset all of a sudden was all over the media. Team Tangatanga and the Deputy President were telling all Kenyans that the handshake is a plan to hand over the presidency to Raila Odinga after President Uhuru Kenyatta finishes his term. Hand over the presidency to Raila Odinga, that man from Luo Nyanza, the man responsible for causing the House of Mumbi to turn up to vote in August 2017 in record numbers in order to ensure that Raila doesn't win. The man who hails from a community that has been demonized in the Mount Kenya region since 1969. Indeed, the handshake contributed to the loss of popularity of President Uhuru Kenyatta amongst the House of Mumbi. Bottom line, you cannot demonize a community for decades over and over again and then suddenly expect that community to turn around and forget all that you've told them about that community and accept that candidate from that community. It's not possible. And so, even if the Mount Kenya region, Gema, votes as a bloc, delivers all their 10 million votes in one basket, it is not possible for all those votes to go to Raila Odinga. Not possible. They will discuss, they will mobilize, they'll get everybody together, everybody will agree. But when it is revealed that all those votes are going to a candidate called Raila Odinga, it will not work. Now, if that candidate is announced as being William Samoei Ruto, which is highly unlikely, because this group which is coming together to mobilize the Mount Kenya region is against the Deputy President. But let us just assume that by some miracle, they announce that all those votes should go to William Samoei Ruto. Still, there are very many people in the region who will never cast a vote for the presidency for William Samoei Ruto. And let us make a clear distinction here. Members of the House of Mumbi, based in the Rift Valley, can very easily deliver their votes as a bloc to William Samoei Ruto. That is very possible. But members of the House of Mumbi outside the Rift Valley will never do such a thing. They will never vote for that man as a bloc. And the reason is simple. 2007, 2008, Manenos, the clashes, which directly impacted very many families within the house of Mumbi. People lost relatives. People even lost relatives who were children. Yeah, the Kiamba church incident comes to mind. And then there's the Moi presidency and the impact it had on the community. Yeah, and the late Moi hails from the same community as the deputy president. Of course, the community can come out and show that they support Deputy President William Samoei Ruto in order to spite the president, which indeed we have seen unfold in some by-elections, where they have voted for Ruto man. Yeah, not Ruto himself, a Ruto man who hails from their community. But everything changes when you ask them to cast a direct vote for William Samoei Ruto. As a block of 10 million votes, it will never happen. And so it will be a huge mistake for any of the two major presidential candidates so far to sit down and relax and wait, for this union, this unity of the Mount Kenya region to happen, to unfold, and for the region to deliver 10 million votes in a basket to them, in exchange for some favors in the coming government. That would be a mistake. Because as I've told you, taking the history of the region into account, neither of the current major presidential candidates can hope to get all those votes in a basket. No way. Their best bet would be to do everything in their power to make sure that part of the region never sees the light of day. Raila Odinga's strategy should not be to get votes from the Mount Kenya region. No. His strategy should be to ensure that the Mount Kenya region does not want to vote for Deputy President William Samoei Ruto. His best strategy would be to ensure that the Mount Kenya region gets very, very terrified of voting for William Samoei Ruto, so that he reduces his opponent's votes from the Mount Kenya region, or eliminates them altogether. And the same strategy should apply to the Deputy President William Samoei Ruto camp. He should ensure that the region fears to vote for Raila Odinga, and thus reduce the number of votes that will go to Raila Odinga from the Mount Kenya region. Although in my opinion, Ruto has an easier job, because he has a lot going for him. The ground has already been prepared for decades, never to vote for Raila Odinga. You know, politics is a numbers game. I'm not talking about the smart people in the city wearing suits that hail from Mount Kenya, that understand the whole situation very clearly. No. I'm talking about the masses in the Mount Kenya region. Millions of voters. So take away your focus from the people you know who are on social media, who say that they're going to vote for Raila Odinga. Take your mind off the politicians in Team Kieleweke who are telling us that they're personally going to vote for Raila Odinga. How many votes are those? I will be very surprised if those votes are anywhere near 100,000. In fact, that's too much already. So please let's focus on numbers. The ordinary people on the ground. the masses in the Mount Kenya region. But let me tell you something. I am almost totally convinced that Raila Odinga will not run in 2022. And what he will do instead, he will say, so and so, tosha. In fact, I suspect that one candidate for Team Kieleweke will not be announced by Raila Odinga. And if I'm right, if that is what is going to happen, then it will be very easy for the block of votes from the Mount Kenya region to go to that candidate. Folks, that is the political reality. I know I've said a lot of things that have hurt many of you. They've hurt your feelings. You're very emotional right now. And I take this opportunity to apologize. But please understand, on this channel, we deal only with political reality, not political pipe dreams and theories. And I'm afraid there's a lot of that flying around these days. Yeah, political theories and fairy tales that have nothing to do with the reality on the ground. Now, as I promised, back to Mzee Kioni and Kiamba. Team Kieleweke were able to undo all the very hard work the Deputy President and Team Tangatanga put in the Mount Kenya region over the last 4 years. Buses donated, money donated to churches, wheelbarrows given out, motorbikes, etc., etc. Even vehicles for taxi businesses given out, free. Mzee Kioni and company were able to undo all that in 3 short weeks. So what is this thing they did that has caused Bwana Kioni to very excitedly tell us, we know what to do? He repeated that many times. Now, according to my information on the ground, the campaign of Team Kieleweke in Kiamba was mainly door-to-door. Now, door-to-door campaigns are very hard work. It is much easier to do for a candidate vying for an MCA seat, member of county assembly, because they're dealing with a very small area, a ward. And the area will tend to be even smaller if that ward is within a city or a town, a major town. But in Kenya, we have many success stories where door-to-door campaigns have been carried out by members of parliament who have won elections, mainly due to a door-to-door strategy. You limit or you avoid major rallies and you focus on going door-to-door. You are talking to people individually. You and your handlers, you and several of your campaigners. In the United States, when President George W. Bush was seeking re-election, door-to-door campaigns were carried out in problem states, states that were very important for his win, but were a problem. Those hostility in those particular states. It looked like people in those particular regions would not vote for George W. Bush. And the door-to-door campaigns for the presidency of the United States of America worked for George W. Bush. He won against all expectations. I believe this idea came from his very famous political strategist, a man who understands politics and human nature more than most. So, door-to-door campaigns are not new. And door-to-door campaigns in the Mount Kenya region to get the entire region to vote as a bloc in order to protect their interests going forward is an idea that can work. On paper, it's a great idea. But then, of course, with these things, it all boils down to execution. how they actually go about it. If they do it the way they did it in Kiamba, and the candidate the region votes for or decides to vote for is not Raila Odinga and is not William Samoei Ruto, it will work, in my view. You know, I believe the 2022 general elections in Kenya are going to be very unique. These are going to be elections like no other we've had in our country. Because already we are seeing some of the strategies people are coming up with are unprecedented. And of course you can be sure that the other candidates are not going to take this lying down. They will not relax and clap and cheer and tell Team Kieleweke, well done, good job. No, they will come up with their own counter strategies to neutralize this particular strategy. That is why it's going to be very interesting. It is going to be the kind of election that students of politics will want to study very closely. It will be the kind of election where students of human nature will want to study it very closely. And I believe it will be talked about long after those elections, assuming that they are free, fair, and verifiable, which I have good reason to believe will happen in 2022. One of the reasons being, and I've said this before on this channel, that the era of rigging, fiddling with presidential elections is over. And anybody who tries to do the same in 2022 will be a mad person, because they'll be inviting chaos and trouble. I firmly believe that 2017 is the last election in Kenya to be fiddled with for a long time. That is, if fiddling wants to come back, fiddling of elections, it'll have to wait for very many years in order to make a comeback. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please remember to give me a like. And secondly, I need to announce that I'm just putting the finishing touches into weekly intelligence briefings number 62. There's some information that has delayed in coming in. And as you know, I like doing a thorough, accurate job. So within the next few hours, that information should be in. And I will release that weekly intelligence briefings. And therefore, I strongly recommend that you renew your subscription if it has run out, and you become a member. Take advantage of our latest special offer if you're not yet a member. Just listen in for details. Many times on this channel, I have described the upcoming 2022 general elections in Kenya with a Swahili very popular Kenyan expression as follows: Kimeumana kuumana. Oh yes. And maybe many on this channel have not been able to fully understand what I'm really driving at. What is the worst that can happen? What can really happen? What is this that kimeumana kuumana? Really, what is it? I know many of you are asking. In my latest weekly intelligence briefings number 60, I cover one of these areas that is really scary about our upcoming elections. And it is a trend that we have seen very clearly from the last two elections, the last two general elections. Of course, I'm talking about 2013 and 2017. It is a trend that is deadly, to say the least. Before the 2013 general elections, we had the death from a helicopter crash of the late Professor George Saitoti, who, by the way, had already announced that he was vying for the presidency of the Republic of Kenya. But was it really an ordinary helicopter crash? There is a lot of information in the public domain that suggests it was not. And I covered this in great detail in Weekly Intelligence Briefings, number 60. Now let me give you another quick example. In the run-up to the 2017 general elections, indeed very close to those elections, about a month before those elections, the CS internal at the time, a man called Joseph Nkaiseri, suddenly passed on from what we were told was a heart attack. A sudden heart attack just before the general elections. And then we had the still unsolved mystery of the gruesome murder of IEBC computer guru, the late Kshs. In my view, the stakes were very high in 2013. They were higher in the 2017 elections. And they're highest, a lot higher, in the 2022 upcoming general elections. Now, there are details which unfortunately I cannot share on this public channel that are included in my WAB number 60 that will just blow your mind. No kidding, no exaggerating. And on this channel, it is our tradition to analyze our politics in our beloved country a lot more deeply than many others do. I'm not saying we're the best. I'm not bragging. But we make an effort to analyze politics very deeply. And therefore, the analysis of this highly sensitive area, must be done. Otherwise, we will be cheating our subscribers and indeed our fans and followers if we somehow leave it out conveniently from our deep analysis, because it is all part of the upcoming Kimeumana Kuumana 2022 general elections. Now, times are hard. There's no doubt about that. And many of you, my beloved fans and followers of this channel, may many times feel that you're being left out because of the relatively high cost of being a Weekly Intelligence Briefings subscriber. But I have great news for you today. For the next 4 days, from the day this video was published, you will be able to become a temporary subscriber for the Weekly Intelligence Briefings for 2 whole months for only 9.95 Kenya shillings, or $9.95. This has been the special offer for a monthly subscription, but now you can get 2 months. And even for those who your subscription has expired, you can now extend it for 2 whole months for only $9.95, or Kenya shillings 9.95 only. Go for it. I'm afraid you only have 4 days. In my opinion, the current special offer for a whole year, and even for lifetime subscription, you never need to pay again, is also very reasonable, very low. So please take advantage. This offer will not remain forever. Indeed, it is going to end very soon, if I can give you a heads up. Those who normally pray for a lovely, beloved motherland, I urge you to step up your prayers concerning our next general elections. Until next time, this is Kshs. Kumekucha.